Welcome to the podcast where my thoughts disrobe and I get naked with you about life and its lessons. I'm Jessie, your host of Disrobed Thoughts. Hey guys, sorry I missed the last 2 weeks. It's funny because I actually already started this episode a couple of times, I'll be honest. And the first couple of times I messed up a quote. The next time I said so much, apologized for it, unapologized for it, then continued to say so much that I couldn't get over how much I said and I had to restart and decided to start it completely different. And here we are. So I don't know where we're going with this. This episode is going to be on it'll be on grief. And because it's an awkward topic, it's a very hard topic to talk about. It's a very hard topic for me to talk about. I will probably say and a lot, and y'all are just gonna have to deal with it. That's okay. It's just, grief is hard to talk about. Filler words are easy to throw in there. And this podcast is all about putting myself out there, putting my most inner thoughts out in the world. Then that includes and really hard feelings. So to help me out with some of these feelings, I brought my book, one of my favorite books, Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. She is the master of all feelings, like all feelings. Like she's just really good at all feelings. So if you want to learn about feelings and emotions, this is the place to be. I really liked this quote on sadness. So grief is more than just sadness. Grief embodies all sorts of emotions. It's more complicated than just being sad. And the reason, that's why I got off topic and my ADHD brain won. I also did a meditation for ADHD right before I did this so I could focus a little bit better. And here we are. So the reason that I took 2 weeks off, I had intended on doing this episode on grief right before I went to the mountains for my cousin's memorial. And it just, I will be honest with you guys, I've really been putting off this episode. I've been really procrastinating it because it is a really hard topic to talk about, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to say. But have I known exactly what I'm going to say in any of the other episodes that I've recorded? Any of the all 2 other episodes? No, I do not. And I did not. And here we are. So I guess this is just the norm. Get on board with it. Or don't. Doesn't matter. So I took off that week because I just couldn't bring myself to do it before I left. And that's when I posted, hey guys, I'll be back next week. And then my aunt passed on that Tuesday after. And I've been spending a lot of time with my mom. And so I haven't been home. And so it was too hard. It was too hard to record this episode last week. It was just too hard. So here we are. I am working on not apologizing for doing the things I need to do for myself. I know some of you understand so I'm a human who needs time to herself, who needs time to just, I don't know, decompress, meditate, listen to music and clean, listen to an audiobook, just be with me, be present in my moment with me, and no outside distractions or nothing else. And I haven't really gotten a lot of that time lately. And so because I needed to be there, I need to be there for other people. which I love doing. I absolutely love doing, and I would not trade that for the world. But that's why I couldn't be here for you guys. So that's why we took a little bit, another week to do this. I am thinking about putting a second episode out this week, so make up for it. And since we're like two, three? This will be two behind. I don't know. This would be my 5th episode this week. 4th, 5th. I learned how to count yesterday. It's not going well. So on with the sadness. Also, if, I'm assuming those of you who just don't want to listen to an episode about grief and sadness have hopped out by now. Because I get it. Sometimes, like, especially if you're going through it, talking about it some more, it can either be really good, it could be really helpful to know that somebody else is going through what you're going through or has gone through what you're going through or whatever, or you just don't want to fucking hear it. So I understand either way. Hop on out. I'll see y'all later. Those of you who are sticking around, grab a tissue if you're feeling like you might need one. I really liked this excerpt from the book. I don't know. It has like a quotation mark, but I don't see if it's like quoted by, I don't know if this is Brene Brown or if this is someone else. But it says, to be human is to know sadness. Owning our sadness is courageous, and it's a necessary step to finding our way back to ourselves and each other. I often forget that I'm human. I don't know if any of y'all had that problem, but like, I have that problem. Sometimes I feel like I should be like a robot. I should be perfect. I should never have emotions. I should always just be just what I am expected to be. And sadness is not something that people expect me to be. Sadness, being sad. I am not sadness, but I have experienced sadness. And I very often have not been courageous about my sadness. I've not owned it. I've not accepted it. I've not felt it. I've ignored it. Any of you guys see Inside Out 2? For those of you who don't know, it's a kids movie based on emotions. Just look at me, just really like diving into emotions this week. And they have this the like joy and like their main emotions have this little thing that launches the core memories or the memories that they don't find necessary, like the ones where she felt bad about something or was upset about something or something sad happened, heartbreaking, shame, whatever it was, and they just launched that fucker straight into the back of the mind and just left it there. And I was like, man, I've been doing that. Looks like my emotions had that built in from the start. So, but in the last few years, I've been a lot better about it. And I've been a lot better about feeling my emotions and working through them and moving through them. And it's a necessary step to find your way back. It's the only way you find your way back. In our saddest moments, we want to be held by or feel connected to someone who has known that same ache. Even if what caused it is completely different, we don't want our sadness overlooked or diminished by someone who can't tolerate what we're feeling because they're unwilling or unable to own their own sadness. First of all, I apologize for butchering that first half. I've never been a great reader or reader out louder. So here we are. But I couldn't agree more. We don't want our sadness to be overlooked or diminished by someone who can't tolerate what we're feeling because they're unwilling or unable to own their own sadness. And I am so sorry. I have absolutely not been there for other people. I've tried to be there for other people, but I know I wasn't great at being there for other people when I wasn't owning my own sadness. And so we move on to grief, the more complicated, gut-wrenching, awful feeling sadness involving emotion. Grief does not obey your plans or your wishes. Grief will do whatever it wants to you, whenever it wants to. In that regard, grief has a lot in common with love. Elizabeth Gilbert. So, grief is multi-part, and it is, man, it just comes out in all sorts of ways. Like, I don't know how you guys have experienced grief. I believe everyone's a little bit different in how they experience their emotions, but I know for me, sometimes it's just the most random moment that'll get me. The most random moment. And I don't know. There's always like a possibly triggering conversation, a thought process that like lands me there. I definitely prefer to feel it all at home alone. In my room, at home alone. I really noticed that one at my cousin's memorial. So she passed back in, I don't know if it was January or February. February, maybe January. All I know is it was just a real rough time for me. I had just bought a new car. I was working through the trauma of having my vehicle stolen, and I was celebrating with a friend, getting my new car. We went to dinner, and I got the text from my dad, and I didn't even know how to feel. I just kind of shut down, and I focused on dinner with my friend, and once I got home, I kind of sat down for a minute, and then I cried for a little bit, and I was very confused. I didn't really know what happened, and it was very unexpected. My cousin was very young. She's 40, and it was not something that I understood. I had just reached out to my aunt the week before that, asking for her phone number. She had changed her phone number somewhere along the way, and I just didn't go through all the effort to like get her number. And it was like my question was answered. I didn't end up getting her phone number. It was one of those things, like, I think it just got missed in the conversation. I didn't ask again, and all of a sudden now here it is, too late. And I was like, I felt angry, I felt sad, I felt guilty, because what kind of cousin realizes that her cousin changed her phone number and doesn't ask someone for it? But I was also angry, like, she never got my number, never gave me her new number. I felt like I was being lied to. I wasn't told the whole story. I didn't understand what had happened. But it wasn't something, I mean, man, my aunt lost a daughter. I can't ask her what happened or what went on, because she's grieving too, and I can't do that, right? So it was a lot of mixed emotions, most of it being anger, frustration, longing to, talk to her and apologize for not calling her or reaching out, or, I have her email. Could have done something, her Facebook. Not taking her up on, she asked me if I wanted to come down, offered several times, like, if I wanted to come over, visit her in Arizona. And I said, yeah, I would love that. But the timing was never right. And so I felt really, really, really guilty. Maybe still do a little bit, tearing up. But that was really, it was a lot. And my grief does not compare to my aunt's grief by any means, but we're also not comparing our emotions to other people's. And we are not, we are owning our own emotions for what they are. And we're allowed to be also grieving, even if our connection wasn't nearly as strong as another person's. Those are also things that went through my head. Things that I thought about, that I've always thought about. Well, I can't possibly you know, I guess I still do this. I mean, at the memorial, I made a lot of jokes. If I offended anyone, I apologize. I made a lot of jokes. I made a lot of comments about the artwork because there's some crazy ass artwork on the walls, and this was a memorial is in a firehouse, and it was some of the coolest shit, you guys. Weird, weird fucking art, super fucking weird art. And if you were the artist and somehow you know where I'm talking, you're super fucking cool. You're super fucking weird, but you're super fucking cool, and I dig it. That is an expression of you and your beliefs, and I fucking love that. It's very unique. And so, I made some comments like, do you think that is what animal do you think that was? Because some of them were artworks of animals, and some of them had like almost like a pig face, but maybe it was like a deer, but maybe it was a little bit both. I don't know. So we're just discussing the art, and really talked about the cupcakes a lot. They were delicious, absolutely delicious. I believe they were retrieved from Whole Foods. Win. And during the actual memorial, like the ceremony, is that what you call it? And people came up and spoke some very, very, very kind and thoughtful, beautiful words about my cousin. Man, that was so hard. I cried and I cried and I cried, and I had this like package of tissues and I blotted my tears and I'm passing them down to my sisters who are doing the same thing, and we're all just crying. And I went through that whole package of tissues in that one sitting, and I was like, for the love of God, I cannot cry anymore because I'm out of tissues. And I put way too much makeup on for this to be a thing. I will have black eyes by the end of it, even though my mascara is waterproof and it is on point. It is amazing. The eyeshadow is not waterproof. So the dark purple will be everywhere. And, thoughts that you think while you're in the middle of bawling your eyes out in a place where you still have to see people. And the person behind me, I hope she does not murder me for saying this. Not literally, figuratively. I love her to death, and I'm not going to tell anyone who she is, right? But she leaned over to the person next to her and she said, "Now I have to poop." Thank you. I wanted to give you the biggest hug in that moment because I just needed to be brought back a little bit. I was bawling my eyes out. I was getting real sad. I was getting real into everything that was going on. And it brought me back and it made me laugh. And I'll never forget that. I love you. Thank you. Thank you and your bowels for having the moment. We all have those moments sometimes where we have to poop at inopportune times, and that was the inopportune time that I needed. You didn't need, but I needed. And I'm so glad you verbally expressed that out loud. Thank you. So I don't know where I was going with all this. Crying. Oh, making jokes. And thinking about other things. It's in part because I felt like okay, I don't know how everyone else was doing. If they wanted to just fall apart, how do you guys do memorials? How do you do funerals? Does everyone just fall apart together? You just don't give any fucks. You just fall apart together and hug it out and cry it out? Or do you try to hold yourself a little bit together to get through it? Like you need the whole experience, you need the whole closure, the whole seeing all the amazing beautiful faces that loved the amazing beautiful face that you are now missing. How do you guys do memorials? Let me know, because I gotta know. I don't know if other people needed some comic relief, and I hope that if they did, I provided that, just like the person who needed to poop provided that for me. Or if what you needed was to sit down and just cry it out with everybody and anybody, and I prevented that from you, then I am so deeply sorry. But I don't know. Personally, I just prefer to do. I don't like it when people see me cry. I'm starting to get used to it. I've cried a few times here and there in front of other people at work. Jesus, I've become that person who's cried at work more than once. I don't like it, but it's happened. It's fine. And it's okay because we feel emotions and we're supposed to feel emotions. We're supposed to be emotional beings. So now I'm having like thoughts of and feelings of guilt and like over. I felt guilty at the memorial because all I wanted to do was cry. And I felt like I didn't have the emotional right to do so. So I made jokes and fun conversation about cupcakes because that's what I felt like was the right thing to do at the time. Whether that's okay or not, I have no idea, but it's what happened. And now I'm talking about it on a podcast episode about grief. And I felt similarly when my aunt passed. My aunt was not unexpected. My aunt was someone that we have known would pass for a long time now. Like doctors were surprised she was still here. And we knew about it. So when I found out that, so my aunt wasn't in great shape over the weekend of the memorial. It was just something that I just kind of kept in the back of my mind, moved through it. When I got back, I went straight to work, 1.5 days. And then on my next day off, I got a message early in the morning from my grandma. I was going to see my mom anyway. I was dropping off a foundation for her. And my grandma let me know that today was the day. And so I went and spent the day with my mom. And as any good older daughter would, right? Went and picked out a new TV for her and hung it myself. Just kidding, I had help. I assembled all the mounting pieces, though, by myself. I just called a friend to help lift it and hang it because it was a 62-inch TV. It was kind of a harder one to hang by yourself when you're short and can't see anything. And my mom tried to help, but we're both short and can't see anything, so I called a tall friend. And if that tall friend happens to be listening, thank you. I really appreciate it. From my bottom of my heart, my mom, amongst our next 3 days together, asked me a couple of times to make sure you knew we were very grateful. Thank you. That she was very grateful. But I am also very grateful. So hence the we. Anyway, so we spent the day together, and because the thing is, I didn't know my cousin very well. I didn't know my aunt very well. I knew I loved them because they're my family. I've had some really fun moments with them. My cousin, I'll never forget, she picked me up we used to do these weekends with my aunts. And she picked me up for my weekend with my aunt, her mom. And so we're sitting in the car, and the song "Let Me Blow Your Mind" by Eve comes on, and I'll never. She cranked it up in her super cool Chrysler convertible, and this drop your glasses, shake your asses, some EVE. Let me blow your mind. We just jammed. We jammed like it was a concert for the world. I don't know. It was a lot of fun. We just jammed out in the car, and it was great. And that is one of my favorite memories of Katie. And one of my very few memories. And my aunt, I also didn't know super well. She's from Germany. And so therefore I didn't really get to see that side of my family very often. And, but I'll never forget how cool she was. Every time she came and visited, she lived in Australia and Thailand every once in a while, or visited. I don't know. I think she visited both. And she always had these stories, and she brought me books, and the platypus was like the coolest fucking animal. I think they're assholes. Like I don't know in real life. Like are platypuses whatever, are they assholes? I feel like they are, but they're so cute, and they've got this little they're just weird looking. They're weird and they're cute, and I love them. But I think they're assholes. They're weird, cute, and I love them, and I think they're assholes. It's like my type. Oh, weird, cute assholes. So, anyway, that's like, I'll never forget that. And she just had the coolest fucking hair, and it was always short, and like she dyed it different colors and shit. And she just looked so cool. She wore all black and his cool t-shirts, and she gave zero fucks what she thought about anybody, or what she thought about what anybody thought about her. I mean, maybe she cared a little bit, but she didn't seem like she cared. And I really liked that. She was so cool. And she like, one of the times she came, she saw a Pokemon at the store. The one that looks like a platypus. And she just thought the Pokemon was the coolest fucking shit. And coming from where she's from, they didn't have Pokemon there. And so, or maybe she did, but like, she's some kids. She didn't know what a fucking Pokemon was. And she bought this little, it was like a keychain Pokeball with a Pokemon in it. And she just thought it was the coolest thing. And she was so excited to show us. And I was just over here like, Pokemon, okay. All the boys at school like it, but like it's not that cool. But she loved it so much. I was just like, yeah, it is cool. Cause it made her so happy. And, the last time she came and visited, it was a little different. But I used to go to, was it karaoke? It was karaoke that we went to pretty frequently. And so I went over to karaoke that night, and she wanted to go too. So it was my mom, her boyfriend, my aunt, all of us went to karaoke, and we're dancing. I'm dancing or whatever, and she jumps up. She's so excited to dance with me. And I have never seen a human dance like this in my life. I can't explain it to you, but explain to it. Words hard. I don't know. I can explain it to you, but it was hilarious and so embarrassing, but also she was having so much fun. She loved it so much. You could even you could say anything or do anything, and it was truly a dance like no one was watching moment. And for her, and I fucking loved it. And it's just, yeah, I felt so bad. I was embarrassed. Like I felt so guilty. But, yeah. So my aunt and cousin are, I know, in a place where they don't have to feel hurt anymore, and or pain or whatever anyone's ever feeling on this planet. Those human shit. And but I miss them. I miss them both. And I do wish I had gotten to know them both better. So that is that was something I guess I was going to read in the book of stuff about grief. You feel acute grief occurs in the initial period after a loss. It almost always includes strong feelings of yearning, longing, sadness, along with anxiety, bitterness, anger, remorse, guilt, and or shame. Thoughts are mostly focused on the person who died, and it can be difficult to concentrate on anything else. Acute grief dominates a person's life. Integrated grief is the result of adaptation to the loss. When a person adapts to loss, grief is not over. Instead, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors related to their loss are integrated in ways that allow them to remember and honor the person who died. Grief finds a place in their life. I've lost more people than just, these two most recent ones. But I have to say, I think I handled these ones the best. My grandpa's, I didn't really tell anybody. I just kind of kept it to myself and cried a little bit here and there. One of my other aunts, when she passed, I read a book. I read The Hunger Games. I finished it. I was already reading it, but I finished the entire thing that night. I stayed up for like the entire night and finished it, and then cried because it's the natural progression of things. And so I have to say I'm really proud of myself with how I've been handling these most recent losses and my grief and everyone else's grief, even though it's not perfect by any means. And I don't know how appropriately I've been acting, but I think it's more appropriate now than it has been in the past. And I've been really trying to focus on ways to move through it. Hence the poem that I wrote about my cousin. I will write one about my aunt. And my mom and I actually painted paintings last week. My aunt was an artist. She loved all things creepy and weird. And her art was her. And I loved it. And so my mom and I decided that we would paint, just do something that my aunt loved. And it happens to be something I love doing, and it happens to be something my mom had fun doing. And my family, that side of my family has a saying that when people pass, when people die, they go up to cloud 7 and they party with everyone else, the rest of the family, the rest of their friends. It's a party on cloud 7. And so we decided to paint cloud 7. And so this is my painting. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. It is a cloud, a literal cloud, with a bunch of balloons, because it's a party. There were supposed to be champagne glasses, but they definitely look like wine glasses. It's okay. And then a few champagne bottles. And in the cloud is a skull, because my aunt loved skulls. Although I realized after, that's kind of morbid, because cloud 7 is for where all the people in your life go when they die, and I put a skull there. So, but I think my aunt would have loved it. And my mom also drew cloud 7. She drew all the people she loves in cloud 7. And I think my aunt would have absolutely loved that too. And so it's a lot about, I don't know, life just sucks sometimes. It just sucks sometimes. But it's also, I think death is also kind of beautiful. I know that that's a very unpopular opinion, but it's like the cycle of life, and I don't like death, and I don't like that it's a part of life. I don't like grieving. I don't like feeling sad. I don't like feeling all the other emotions I felt around everything. But I think, I don't know, I think it's everything always has to end. Everything has an end. And I know death is kind of like the end, depending on what you believe. I believe in reincarnation, so I do in past lives, so I do believe that it's not the end. It's the end of this life. It's the end of this human body, but it's not the end of your soul, your being, your soul cycle. I don't know what it's called. But it's not the end. You'll, live again. You get kind of a do-over, more or less. And if you've learned what you're meant to learn, your life might be super different. And if you didn't, maybe it'll be the same. You just hopefully make different choices. I don't know. No one can really know because it's really unknown, right? Although I guess there are some people who remember their past lives and everything. I think that stuff's really cool. But anyway, I don't know. It's kind of comforting also, I think, the way I think about it. Now I'm just rambling on about death and reincarnation and how beautiful I think it is. Even though I want to be clear, I don't want to die. I don't want anyone in my life to die. But I do think that the general cycle of life is beautiful, even though sometimes the in-between is kind of messy. So on that note, I want to thank you all for listening. Anyone who listened this long, thank you. I want to thank you all for your support. If you can watch my episodes of video on YouTube on my website, disrobedthoughts.com. I'll post a picture of my painting for those of you listening and you want to check out this weird shit that I did in honor of my weird but totally cool aunt. Where you want to check out my poems, and all on disrobedthoughts.com. And yeah, I think that's it. You can follow me on social media if you want, if you feel like it. If not, that's okay too. Thank you all. I love you all. I did want to say this is kind of a really good time for this episode. Extra good, like for my astrology bitches out there. It is the full moon and summer solstice on Friday. And in between, the moon is in in Scorpio on Wednesday and moves to Cancer in the next couple of days. So it's all about feeling emotions, releasing emotions, feeling just, releasing the old, and the summer solstice brings in the new. And so it's also about new beginnings. So it's a really good time for getting all this fucking shit out. So I love you all. Thank you. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.